the extreme and ultimate violence of wiping out an entire race, I guess you'd say. You know, that's how these people operate, is through violence. You know, I think of the great sort of social movements and wins throughout time, and probably the most profound are the nonviolent movements of Gandhi or Dr. Martin Luther King in the United States, which is probably the biggest significant political win, certainly in my country's history, and it was without bloodshed. And you know, that's sort of reflected in, I think that's probably the most powerful tool, especially when you're dealing with state violence, which is awesome, overwhelming, and extreme. What do we have but the power of people? And what is at the basis of that power is our love for each other. And I think what Bong is, you know, and Nisha's love for Mickey is a representative of that kind of power. And it's a power that's much bigger than the state, because for every one of them, there's hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of us. And we can't forget that power. And that's how we ultimately win. And the way they make us afraid or they dominate us is through division. And in the end, it's so beautiful because the people aren't looking for the spotlight. We're trying to live our lives and be with our families, and he says the most amazing thing is like, okay, why don't you introverts come and sit in the front? You know? Which to me is like, that's what it's all about. It's the people who aren't at the front, aren't here, aren't in the camera and all that, those are the people who are the most important people who actually make the change. And I love that line, that killed me. I was like, yes, that's what we need. But it takes time for us because we're, as a group, we're very gentle. We don't want that kind of conflict. We don't want to have to deal with that. So it's very slow to rise up. But once it does, it's awesome and it cannot be beaten. And that's what we see in the film. Ultimately, that structure of violence crumbles.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's my first time in Korea and I've wanted to come here for so long. So to be able to come here with Bong and this movie is a huge honor. What was it like playing this role? It was very freeing. I think Nasha as a character is somebody who is extremely authentic. And it's rare you get to play characters that are just themselves. Usually characters are layered with secrets that they're keeping and hidden emotions, whereas Nasha is like she's an open book. And that was really exciting for me to read on the page and then to bring to life. And, oh, sorry, what was the other question? Do I like my performance? How do I feel about it? I'm on your line of thought. I actually find it really difficult to. I am always looking at my work and going, oh, that's interesting. I see it all as an experiment. It's trial and error, and you get better every time that you do a project, and you have to self-analyze, and then you go, oh, that's interesting. I chose to do this. This time, if I get the opportunity again, I will do this differently. So I am happy, very similar to Mark. I think Nasha serves the story correctly, but it was 2 years ago that we filmed it, and I'm 2 years older and 2 years wiser. So I think if we did it again, it would be maybe a completely different Nasha. Yeah, I think the best leaders and even the best heroes are the people that aren't seeking glory and aren't seeking power. You find that the leaders who are basing what they're doing on love and compassion to be people who help us evolve over time. When it comes to Nasha and Mickey, I think there's something so charming about the fact that the bigger picture is almost too big for them to comprehend. What their drive is their connection and their day-to-day lives. And I think it goes back to what you said, Bong, about like the ordinary being so extraordinary. Like everyone is capable of making change in their lives, but it doesn't have to be a huge heroic thing. It's like, hey, I love this person and I'm gonna fight for this person, and suddenly that can roll into like a huge avalanche over time. I think that's what's really amazing about this story. It celebrates the ordinary, and I think that's what I think as a global society we should be doing more often. Yeah.
Agree with that. 2 years, it was 2 years ago, and I feel like, yeah, maybe the performance would have changed in another level of awareness. I think for me it was interesting playing Timo because I had just finished Beef, and I was playing with this idea of kind of embracing your shadow in a way. And I think with Timo, what was really interesting is that on the page, when you read it, everybody hates him. And as someone that like deeply grew up in a way that is affected by how other people perceive him, it took conscious work to be like, okay, but how do I love this person? And in that way, Timo was fun to try to justify, and I found some loopholes for him. But largely, that was the really fun part of playing Timo. And in terms of my performance, I'll never be satisfied. But I'm satisfied that I think it fits in the totality of Director Bong's vision, and I think that is deeply gratifying to be part of that. My experience with him changes over time because I think I guess the same way that Naomi was saying earlier, I just keep kind of growing in myself, and I think the beauty of Director Bong is that he kind of like appreciates and loves the character and the actor as they are in the moment that they are, and the framing is kind of like Naomi said, like kind of the boundaries by which he's providing, but ultimately he like loves you. And I think hopefully if I get a chance to work with him again, like it will be this gradual evolution of maybe a larger love and appreciation for myself over time, so that I may be able to be more yoyuro on the frame for him. And I think that's that I think is something that's really wonderful about his eye. The way that he processes characters and the way that he processes like 매력 and things like that, I think it's really special.
계엄령 뉴스 나왔을 때 마크 같은 경우 저한테 이메일해서 괜찮냐, 안전하게 잘 있기 바란다고 이제 연락도 했었고, 저도 걱정하지 마라, 괜찮다고 했었는데 모르겠습니다. 뉴스에서 몇 차례 얘기를 했었지만은 로제, 블랙핑크 출신 로제 양의 노래가 이번 주는 차트 몇 위까지 올라갔느냐 이런 뉴스를 보던 와중에 갑자기 계엄령이 터지면서 너무나 생경스러웠죠. 근데 좋은 점은 우리 지금 또 이렇게 해서 영화 기자회견을 하고 있잖아요. 음악도 영화도 우리의 일상은 또 거침없이 계속되고 있거든요. 그리고 이 영화를 또 보기 위해서 많은 분들이 와주시기를 바라고 있고, 어제도 또 즐겁게 시사회를 했고요. 그게 계엄을 이미 극복한 우리들의 이제 시민들, 국민들의 자랑스러운 모습이라고 생각을 합니다. 이미 극복되었다고 생각합니다. 남은 것은 법적, 형식적 절차라고 생각합니다. 기생충도 무슨 자본주의에 대한 풍자와 비판, 그게 물론 틀린 말은 아니지만 영화를 만들 때 그런 목표나 깃발을 들고 만들진 않습니다. 미키17도 마찬가지죠. 프린터에서 출력되고 있는 자기 몸을 봤을 때 어떤 느낌일까? 미키는 그러다가 마샬 같은 사람한테 혼나고 막 그런 무서운 상황이 있을 땐 또 얼마나 겁이 날고 이런 식으로 하나씩 예. 그리고 유일한 친구인 티모가 예. 자기 앞에서 이렇게 깐죽거리면서 자기를 괴롭힐 때 그 미키의 속마음은 어떨지 이 모든 힘든 상황 속에서 그래도 나샤 때문에 내가 버티고 있구나라는 생각을 할 때 드는 그 위안과 위로는 어떨지 이런 구체적인 여러 감정들을 다 그냥 나누고 싶은 것입니다. 자본주의를 분석한다 아니면 뭐 무슨 메시지를 던진다 하는 건 사실 사회과학을 하시는 분들이 또 그런 분들이 내시는 책에서 더 명확하고 효율적으로 잘 설명되어 있습니다. 영화는 사실 그런 것보다는 그런 틈바구니에서 숨쉬는 인간들의 감정을 같이 좀 나눠보자고 하는 게 목표니까요. 저는 미키17 보면서 관객분들이 많은 공감과 위로, 그러니까 어제 시사회 때도 누가 그런 동료 감독이 그런 얘기를 해줬었는데 예, 마음의 위로를 받았다는 얘기를 들었을 때 되게 기뻤거든요. 그 미키라는 주인공이 이제 이런 여러 가지 힘든 상황 속에서도 결국은 부서지지 않고 살아남았다는 거. 그 연약하고 어떻게 보면 좀 불쌍한 청년인데 결국은 그가 파괴되지 않았다는 게 제가 하고 싶은 얘기였습니다. 영화에서.
It's pretty much the same. Obviously, this is a bigger film. It's a traditional studio, Warner Brothers. But I was really impressed by his approach. It was exactly the same on all the experiences that I've had. It's just bigger. The budgets are bigger. I remember after Snowpiercer, he said, "Doo-ho, the next one's going to be smaller." That was too big, you know. And then he gave me the script for Okja, and I said, "This is not smaller." And he said, "Sorry, I just got carried away as I was writing the story." And of course, Mickey is a lot bigger than that, but everything is the same. He goes about his process the same way, and I don't think any of the outside factors affected his approach. I've probably watched the movie as many times as director Bong, or almost as many times as him, and I still see new things in it every time I see the film. So please go see it on the biggest screen possible. And thanks to Steven and Mark and Naomi for coming out to join this tour in Korea. Thank you.